Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and sadly, I'm here to report some pretty horrible news for the Commanders. We have a Jayden Daniels injury confirmation, man. So we're gonna do a deep dive into this, like whether Mariota is gonna have to suit up against these Las Vegas Raiders. May he potentially even have to suit up against the Atlanta Falcons after that? Remember, he has played for both of those teams, so that's an interesting revenge game scenario for both of those games. But hopefully Jayden Daniels is okay. We're gonna dive into every aspect of this, the good side, the bad side, what could happen, what may not happen. I have a lot of different updates from a lot of different people closest to the situation. We even like an update from a doctor as to how long it feels like Jayden Daniels may be out. There's some optimism that he may not even necessarily miss a game. We're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Shouts out to my watch to the end gang, man. I see y'all, man. Really appreciate y'all. And even though, again, I'm uploading this, I'm recording this, it's 2:51 p.m., shouts out to my late night crew, because I know a lot of y'all are still going to end up watching this late night anyway. But again, shouts out to my watch to the end game as well. And let's go ahead and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. And yes, we're going to dive into the exact play where it appears that Jayden Daniels got hurt. And yes, we're going to talk about how that was an illegal hip drop tackle, which the entire league unanimously tried to ban, which, I mean, it went into the ruling. Like, it is a rule that you're not allowed to do that. For some reason, the refs in that Packers game did not call it, which could have led to points or whatever. We're going to dive into that later. First of all, I want to walk y'all through just to catch y'all up on the update timeline, like just to go in chronological order of how everything played out. So back on September 12th, Grant Paulson got wind from whatever sources he has that Jayden Daniels got an MRI on that day on his knee after taking some hits the night before in that Packers game. So this was back on Friday. He was said to be limping pretty good at the end of the game. According to Grant Paulson of 106.7 The Fan, Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels underwent an MRI on his knee Friday after Thursday's loss to the Packers. Paulson notes that Daniels, quote, limping pretty good at the end of the game, unquote. Daniels took a number of hits during the game. This could just be precautionary, but Paulson says it's at least something to keep an eye on in the coming days. Then we fast forward to 2 days ago. We got an update from a doctor, or Deepak Chona MD or whatever. He's a sports surgeon, and he suggested that Daniels might have a PCL injury and that he may even wear a brace. But he also said, of course, that we'll find out more. This is just what he's seeing from looking at the play that he got hurt, because he did like a whole run. It's like a whole 20-second video breaking down like the Brock Bowers injury, the Jayden Daniels injury, just looking at some of the injuries across the NFL to see how severe they may be. And with the Jayden Daniels portion, he said could be a PCL injury and he may end up wearing a brace, but we'll see. And then yesterday, Jay Glazer came out and said that Jayden Daniels is day-to-day with his knee. Going to take a look at him tomorrow, though. So this came out yesterday saying day to day. Not out a week, not out weeks, not out months, and definitely not out end of season or anything like that. So that was like fairly optimistic news, but you just don't want to hear that Jayden Daniels is hurt at all, let alone week 2 of the season. And then, just in case if y'all missed it, like I foreshadowed earlier, the refs in that Green Bay game missed a potentially huge call that could have eventually led to points for the Commanders when this Jayden Daniels injury was possibly suffered. It came from the exact hip drop tackle that they have been emphasizing to banish from the NFL. Again, it was a unanimous vote from all NFL teams to get rid of this form of tackle, and somehow the refs just ignored it when it happened to Jayden Daniels. Shouts out to David Harrison for pointing out the fact that Packers' Kingsley Enagbari, I hope that's how you pronounce that name, with a pretty blatant hip drop tackle on Commanders Jayden Daniels on Thursday night. No flag. Should even draw a fine afterwards, even though they missed it during the game for a flag. After further review, there should definitely be a fine. The rule needs to be worked on by the NFL because there was no hesitation by the defensive line to even attempt to drop his weight onto the ball carrier's leg on the play. And then shouts out to Nikki Javala. She said, this is the play in which Jayden Daniels appeared to come up hobbling a bit. I don't know how this wasn't ruled a hip drop tackle in the game. It checks all of the boxes. He wraps Daniels with both arms, he unweights by swiveling and dropping his hips, and he lands on Jayden Daniels' legs. He literally hit every marker for achieving a flag and a fine, and somehow he got away with it in that game. So live, I thought, okay, you know, it felt fairly even with the refs. You know, sometimes the refs are more blatant with them being one-sided for the opponent that we're going against. It's always us versus the opponent and the refs at the same time. It's always 1v2. But but I thought live watching the game, it wasn't that bad. It didn't seem as obvious. After further inspection, you have this hip drop tackle. And also, in one of my previous videos, I think a couple of days ago, I showed y'all how Jordan Love should have been called for a safety on an intentional grounding penalty where he was in the pocket and just threw the ball absolutely nowhere. And that could have changed the entire game. We could have got away with 2 points, gotten the ball back, got an additional 7. A completely different game after that. So the refs really hurt us in this game, man. They were just sloppy overall. Like, I mean, I went back and looked at the tape for real, like looking at the all 22. Nah, the refs were cheating for the Packers, dog. I'm sorry. And like I said live, I hate to blame the refs and I hate to come with excuses and things like that, because of course the refs mess up calls that benefit the Commanders in a way as well. But it just always seems like the refs it just always seems, at least even if we do benefit a little bit, we never benefit anywhere near as much as our opponents do, bro. Jayden Daniels hurt. Could have been a game scoring drive right there that could have changed the entire game right there, but no flag called. Again, Jordan Love in the pocket throws it just absolutely nowhere near anybody. I guess the closest guy was a tight end that was like 10 yards away while still in the pocket in his own end zone. Should have been a safety, should have been a Commander's ball. We probably could have went ahead and just scored a quick 9 points right there. It's just insane. So I really try to avoid blaming the refs, but that's a lot of points right there that I just gave you. And we didn't even lose by that much. Even though the game felt worse than it actually was by the score, we didn't end up losing by that much. But most importantly, back to this Jayden Daniels injury. But before we give you the updates of everything that went down today, now we're getting into everything that's being said today, the updates, the reports. We got to dive into this whole Marcus Mariota aspect and avenue to it. We're going to dive into this doctor that's pretty optimistic about Jayden Daniels' chances of even playing against the Raiders this upcoming weekend. We're going to dive into all of that. But first, hey man, football is all the way back. I know the Jayden Daniels injury hurts, but you now have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Washington football has never been more exciting than it is now with elite offensive players like a top 5 quarterback in Jayden Daniels. Please get well soon. A paid and happy Terry McLaurin that's bound to break out sometime very soon. And Deebo Samuel, who looks like the best player on our entire offense right now. You can pick on stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. And if you're right on your picks, you can win big money. And use promo code SCORE, that's SCORE, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. You can even just click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video and live stream I'm doing all season, all the way to the Super Bowl run we're about to still go on. I firmly believe that. And in case if y'all didn't know about combo play, you can even miss picks with a combo play and still cash in with those combo plays with Sleeper. And it's not just the Commanders in the NFL. You can play daily fantasy for the NBA, MLB, NHL, college football, college basketball, and the WNBA on Sleeper. Of course, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details, and there's a $1 minimum entry for users. But of course, now let's dive into some fun that we could have on Sleeper. And y'all know me, man. Y'all know I go straight to that top area, and then I go to NFL popular duos, and I like to have a little fun here. I may do like a few of these throughout the week. And also, it's important to note, it is Monday. It's better to get on these earlier rather than later. Trust me, because that 8 leg that I turned 10 into 800, I was able to catch that early because, for example, on that 8 leg, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I caught him at like 22.5 yards over under week 1. And then by the time the game started, I think when it ended up going up to like 40. Now, granted, he played so well, he exploded past both of those lines. But you see what I'm saying, where if you're earlier, you can catch a very good deal. You can catch better odds. You can catch lower lines for overs. You can catch higher lines for if you're trying to play under. It's crazy. Like they definitely, it's better to be earlier rather than later. So Monday is a good day to start to play some fantasy football. And I'm just scrolling through these live. This is my first time seeing these right now. And I mean, there's some interesting ones right here. I'm not gonna lie, like Emeka Egbuka over and Nico Collins over, especially with the Texans playing Tampa Bay. Even though he didn't have a good first week, I think this is the week that he finally bounces back and goes crazy. Well, he didn't have a good last week, and then even Emeka Egbuka. Now, shouts out to him. He did have a really good first week. We'll see what happens the next week, but I think he's going to get a lot of targets from Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's just going to slang it. I can see multiple receivers reaching that over on the 53.5. So I think this is a pretty solid play right here if you want to make it. If you want to put 10, you can win 31. Of course, you can change whatever you want to do. So even if you want to play it safe, you want to put 5, you can turn that into nearly 16. So if you're feeling Emeka Egbuka over, and again, this is probably going to get higher as the days go on, so it's better sooner rather than later. And shouts out to Sleeper again, man, because we like having fun with Sleeper over here. Again, shouts out to the promo code SCORE. Let's get back to the video. Let me update y'all on some Jayden Daniels stuff that just happened like just a couple of minutes ago. All right, so now fast forwarding to today with some official updates from the actual team itself, or at least reporters, because Dan Quinn doesn't speak to the media until 3:30, and I'll be done recording this by then. My video may not necessarily be edited and out by then, but I'll be done recording. We'll see what he says. But Adam Schefter, super duper breaking news, 2:24 p.m. said Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels has a knee injury that has his status for Sunday's game versus the Raiders in question per league sources. The injury is not believed to be serious, but it remains uncertain whether Daniels will be able to play on Sunday. Two very big points out of there. First of all, the optimistic part about it's not believed to be serious, but secondly, the exact injury is a knee injury. Apparently, it sounds like from multiple people are saying that it's possibly a knee sprain specifically. So just watch out for that, man. And his status versus the Raiders this upcoming Sunday is definitely in question. I super agree with Jayden Daniels MVP on Twitter, bro. He said, I think the NFL should abolish Thursday Night Football. I agree, bro. To not only Thursday Night Football, but being the away team on Thursday Night Football, they literally set us up for failure. I'm not surprised by the amount of injuries we walked away with from that game. The injuries, all of that, man. It would have just been so much better. Hindsight 2020. We just didn't play the game at all and just let them have a free win. I mean, this is awful. Losing Dietrich Wise, Austin Eckler, and potentially for those two for the season. Jayden Daniels maybe for a little bit of time, and then we have a lot of other injuries that we're so caught up on, and of course with good reason, because Austin Eckler and Dietrich Wise out for season. Jayden Daniels just starting quarterback. Any sort of injury to him is panic mode. But even guys like Brandon Coleman got hurt, Mike Sanders still got hurt. We had a lot. Trey Amos came out of the game and came back in. We had so many injuries. We had double-digit injuries in that game. For us to be fairly injury-free leaving that Giants game in juxtaposition to going into that Packers game, and then we're just walking away with barely anybody healthy, I think a lot of that has to deal with the fact that we had to go not only play a Thursday Night Football, but play a Thursday Night Football game on the road. The Packers, even on a Thursday Night Football game, since they were the home team, they have more time to recover, more time to practice. We had to spend time traveling and things like that, so we were really just set up for failure. Also, I think that it's hilarious that Adam Schefter went ahead and put this out there now, because Dan Quinn will speak to the media at 3:30, which is from when I'm recording this right now, 26 minutes from now. By the time most of y'all are watching this, he probably would have already have spoken. But it's funny because Dan Quinn's the head coach of the Washington Commanders, and there is no strategic advantage of divulging any of that information about Jayden Daniels' injury unless it's required to. Dan Quinn could keep it at surface level as possible, not even tell you where the injury is on his body, not even tell you what part and how severe it is. But then Adam Schefter said, well, an hour before this press conference, I'm going to go ahead and put this information out there, so now Dan Quinn has to address it. Because now reporters, petty reporters, first of all, Adam Schefter put them in that situation, but of course now all of the reporters are basically required at this press conference to barrage Dan Quinn with a bunch of Jayden Daniels questions only. Forget the Packers review, how do you feel about the loss? Forget the upcoming preview against the Raiders. All of the questions are going to center around different ways of asking Dan Quinn about Jayden Daniels, and everybody's going to try to find a way to get a really good quote out of him. Dan Quinn's going to do his best job of trying to avoid giving out any sort of headline. But hey, man, the information's already leaked out. I'm not exactly sure how it got out of there. Maybe the doctor that did the MRI leaked it or whatever, but out of the way, now we know that Jayden Daniels has some sort of knee injury. And again, I'm seeing from certain people, not from Adam Schefter himself, but I've seen from a couple of sources that I'm not exactly sure how trustworthy it is, that it is a knee sprain. Now, shouts out to John Com. He did point out the fact that Daniels left the locker room limping the other night. Also had a big ice pack on his knee after the game. Those are important insights right there. Of course, we'll find out more at 3:30 when Dan Quinn addresses the media. And then also he'll have updates for, again, we had a lot of other injuries. Noah Brown, John Bates, Jonathan Jones. It was a very costly game, bro. Like Thursday night football, man. I hope we never have to do that ever again in my lifetime. Please, let's vote against that this offseason, man. And then shouts out to Nikki Javala and Duana Rossini, because they kind of gave a background story on like what's all going on just directly from their article, and I'm only reading like a third of it, like slightly under half, so definitely go check out the article if you want more insight into the situation. But just a quick recap: the Washington Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels suffered a knee injury and the team's loss to the Green Bay Packers, and the status for Sunday's game against the Las Vegas Raiders is uncertain, according to a league source. Daniels underwent an MRI on Friday to confirm the injury, which has been described as not serious. Daniels, who was sacked 4 times and hit several more times in the loss, came up hobbling after getting tackled on a scramble with about 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. With nowhere to throw the ball, he took off running up the middle, gaining a yard before he was taken down by defensive lineman Kingsley Anigbare. I hope that's how you pronounce that name. Again, a hip drop tackle that should have been ruled a penalty. As Daniels limped back to the line of scrimmage, he waved off the sideline to signal he wasn't coming out of the game. He's a tough guy, man. He was sacked 2 plays later and grabbed his knee as he rolled to his feet, then capped the series with a touchdown pass to Deebo Samuel. That is toughness. So he suffered the injury. 2 plays later, he gets sacked again, which makes the injury worse. He stays in the game and then proceeds to throw a touchdown pass to Deebo Samuel. That's my quarterback. That is our quarterback right there. Real pride, real toughness right there, man. Shouts out to Jayden. Then Jayden Daniels limped into the visitors' media room at Lambeau Field later that night. When asked how he felt physically after the game, he said tersely, "I'm good." I don't believe that, but we'll see. Enigbare's tackle was not penalized, but it appeared to be a hip drop tackle by every meaning of the rule. Teams unanimously voted to ban such tackles from the game in 2024 because they were found to cause lower extremity injuries at a rate of 20 times higher than any other tackle. Thanks a lot, refs, because now you didn't even set the precedent to at least make defenders afraid of doing that. Dude, like, that guy is going to potentially do it again. Other defenders are going to keep doing it because when it happened, it wasn't flagged. So they're like, well, if they're not flagging it, why would I change the way I tackle? Like, it may not even necessarily be on purpose. It may not be something that he's, like, conscious of. It's just that he's not conscious of the fact that, oh, man, watch out. I could cost my team yards, a first down, and even points if I keep doing this without the threat of the refs making the call. Now, nobody, people just probably forget. It goes into the back of their mind, back of their conscience. They were probably coached up about it all off season, and then you get in the real live game action. It's week 2 of the season. You probably forget that quickly. Like, you've been playing football a completely different way your entire life. They're asking you to switch it up now all of a sudden, and shouts out to the refs for not policing the situation, and now it's just going to continue on. Shouts out to Grant Paulson. He said, this meshes with what I've been hearing. Commander's plan for him is going to rule him out yet, but would be surprising if he played this week. Next week is going to be more interesting, though. Needs to heal quickly to get back on the practice field in a week for sure. Shouts out to Washington, D.C. Sports News. He said, sucks that Jayden is hurt, but it's a great thing that he seemed to be avoiding anything major. A sprain, probably the best case scenario here. He's questionable for Sunday, and that man is playing unless he can't walk. And I think that is an interesting point because there's no way you could keep him off the field. Like, it's one thing if Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury feels like he shouldn't play against the Raiders. Good luck convincing Jayden Daniels not to. That guy went in through a game-winning Hail Mary, one of the best plays in NFL history, with broken ribs, not bruised ribs, broken ribs. You think a little tiny knee sprain that has him day-to-day is going to keep him out of this game? But we'll see. And at the end of the day, man, the world isn't falling. Because you could probably beat the Raiders with me at quarterback, honestly, let alone Marcus Mariota that carried us to 2 wins last year. The Panthers in the middle of the season after Jayden Daniels got hurt on that long run. And then he also led us to a comeback win over the Cowboys the last week of the season last year. And he even led our team in rushing yards in that game as well, man. So I mean, he not only just went out there and helped us win the game, you could argue that he went out there and won us that game against the Cowboys especially. And I would argue that Marcus Mariota is possibly the best backup quarterback in the NFL, especially for this Cliff Kingsbury system specifically that requires a quarterback to at least be moderately mobile. And even just going back to the games versus Carolina, he went 18 of 23 for 205 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 34 rushing yards. And then against Dallas, 15 of 18, only 3 incompletions, 161 passing yards. He didn't come in until like right before halftime, right? And then 2 touchdowns, 56 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. That guy was over 200 yards of offense and 3 touchdowns by himself against the Cowboys, which now takes me to the point that I'm not putting this season, me personally, at risk for a Sunday game against the Raiders, dog. Now, granted, Jayden will have 10 days in between the games to recover going from the Packers game to the Raiders game because we play Thursday. We don't play until the next Sunday. But I just still don't feel like it's worth the risk, especially with Max Crosby coming up. You saw what Michael Parsons was doing against us. I don't want to make a mildly bad situation or injury any worse, bro. That's just me, though. And honestly, with how the Falcons pass rush looked against the Vikings, unless Daniels is 100%, that game may be in question as well. I mean, the Falcons defense pressured J.J. McCarthy 16 times last night, including 6 sacks. They generated a pressure rate of 53.3% drop back. Man, that's insane. So more than half the time he went back to throw a pass, he was pressured. That was the highest rate by Atlanta in a game since week 15 of 2018. So them signing Leonard Floyd and drafting James Pierce Jr. and my boy Jalen Walker seems to be paying dividends to where they're doing things defensively that they haven't done since 2018. This is a different Falcons pass rush here, man. We haven't seen this since 2018. And 6 different pass rushers recorded at least 3 pressures against the Minnesota Vikings last night. So there's not even one guy in particular that you can focus on, double team, and then you should be straight. No. Anybody's capable of getting to you. So that is something to definitely keep in the back of your mind. And also, don't forget, Marcus Mariota has started for both of those teams as well. If you think about it, the Raiders and the Falcons, he has started games for both. So that could be a couple of revenge games loading up if he ends up suiting up against them. We'll see. And also, shouts out to Ethan Cadeau for pointing out the fact that the Commanders opened up as 6-point favorites over the Raiders, but are now down to just 2.5-point favorites with the Jayden Daniels status uncertain. And who knows, if they officially declare, say, for example, Jayden Daniels is out, Marcus Mariota starting, that could make it decline even more. And maybe even the Raiders have the betting odds favored. Who knows? But shouts out to David Chow, who's apparently some sort of a doctor. His name is literally the Pro Football Doc on Twitter. And he said that I would be very surprised if he misses time or doesn't play even this upcoming game against the Raiders. He has a whole 41-second clip where he's breaking down the whole situation and everything. He's talking about MRIs. He's talking about knee injuries, the way that he looked at. He said he doesn't feel like it's structural or anything like that. And he, again, feels like Jayden Daniels won't miss any time. He'll be out there for the Raiders, and there's nothing to worry about. That's a doctor's opinion, but that's also a doctor that's not in there with the MRIs while Jayden Daniels is being looked at and things like that. This is an outside the team doctor type of guy, just a guy that's doing his own thing through social media, Twitter, doing his own videos and stuff like that. So again, he hasn't been able to see Jayden Daniels face-to-face in person to see the knee injury itself, but from his doctor's opinions, from far away, looking into the situation, he feels like Jayden Daniels should be just fine. But shouts out to @SkinCommand247. I thought this was hilarious. He's basically panicking. He said Jayden got the measles, which I thought was funny in itself. Witt got Vaughn playing defensive back. Mitchell Tinsley is looking like a stud. I love football. It is funny. It does feel like a when it rains it pours situation for the Commanders right now. Our kicker's bad. Every other kicker in the NFL can make any field goal. You see the Cowboys kicker kicking 65-yarders like it's nothing. Anybody's, even backup kickers in the preseason were making 50-plus yarders. Our starting kicker can't. You see Mitchell Tinsley, we had him on our practice squad and around the Commanders for a couple of years. We let him go. He goes to the Bengals and looks like the next coming of A.J. Green over there, or Chad Ochocinco, or T.J. Houshmandzadeh, whatever's going on. So it does feel like when it rains, it pours. And now Jayden is hurt. You lost Austin Eckler and Dietrich Wise for the season. You have all these other injuries like John Bates, Jonathan Jones, and these guys. It's not looking pretty, but I'm still personally optimistic. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this. So make sure you stay tuned to all the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video. Shouts out to my watch to the end gang. If you're watching this video right now still, and you can still hear me and see me, salute to you and appreciate you personally. I'm looking dead in the camera at you for making it this far, man. Shouts out to my watch to the end gang. Shouts out to my late night crew that will be watching this later on tonight. I'm more than likely gonna have another video out by then as well. This is sort of like a breaking news situation, so I wanted to go and talk about this now. I'm still working on the video that I was already working on before all of this happened, and I'm probably gonna work on and can come out with that one later on tonight, so stay tuned for that. And of course, leave a like on the way out, but also let me know in the comment section how you feel about the whole hip drop situation with the refs not calling it. How do you feel about Jayden Daniels' injury? Do you feel like it's worth risking him playing against the Raiders? Do you feel like he should just sit out the Raiders and the Falcons game? Let me know where you're at. Do you feel like it's worth the risk? Do you feel like it's not worth the risk? Do you trust Marcus Mariota to go out there and at least beat the Raiders for you even without Jayden Daniels? Let me know all of that. Really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.